Welcome back to the Air Crown Crypto channel. Wishing you a happy and healthy start to this nice little Thursday morning. I am going to be traveling for most of the day, so I figured I'd get this quick little video out here before getting on a nice little plane. By the way, airplane indicator incoming, and we're going to be focusing on the Bitcoin dominance chart today, talking about what this means for altcoin Bitcoin pairings and what the next 3 months to 6 months very likely looks like. So with that in mind, I want to be wishing you the best, and with that said, let's go directly into it. This is going to be a rather short video, and we're going to start off right over here with the Bitcoin dominance chart. There are three major things to be aware of. One is going to be the 1, 2, 3 drives of bullish divergence come off the lows right here on the weekly. Now, yes, we do have a little bit of hidden bearish divergence actually formulating itself right now, which does likely align for a short-term pullback. But here is the thing. We are seeing that volatility on the weekly is actually in a rather contracted position, historically speaking. So this next move, if we do mediate it with momentum oscillators, very likely is a rather momentous move in this case, of which that 3 drives of regular bullish divergence certainly speaks for itself. Also, the weekly jewel is going to be remaining with upside posturing. And then also, just as important over here on the monthly, we're actually going to see the monthly stochastic momentum turn to the upside from this region, or just anywhere below the critical region that is in this area right here, for the first time basically since May of 2018. Now, I am sure that many people who have been here for the last, I guess it's like 3 or 4 years now, which is kind of crazy. It's been a while. They know exactly, or you know exactly where I'm coming at this from. So this is going to be essentially the low of lows coming in from the last cycle, the 2017-2018 cycle, before going up all the way from about 40% to a high of about shallow 72 to 73% overall. Now, here's the thing, and I want to be very directly clear with this. Whichever direction that Bitcoin goes versus the dollar is very likely going to be the same direction that altcoins go in general as well, in varying degrees of strength. That means, Bitcoin moves the upside, very likely altcoins go up alongside with it, or at least hold steady, and to the downside, altcoins very likely go with it as well. However, here's the thing. The very important thing to remember is that the Bitcoin dominance represents Bitcoin relative to altcoin valuation. So it is, again, it is not to say that the US dollar valuation is like absolutely wrecked beyond repair or anything like that. And I would even argue that several of the more longer term charts probably are actually going to do rather well. In fact, I think that we're going to see a maturing market right here. And we're going to go over a few charts that kind of support that. But basically, the point that I'm making is that when it comes to the Bitcoin dominance, we're talking about the altcoin Bitcoin pairing, not the altcoin US dollar pairing. So in that case, if Bitcoin, let's say if Bitcoin were to move to the upside, that means that altcoins wouldn't move as much, or maybe just hold steady sideways in comparison to Bitcoin. And to the downside, perhaps they overperform to the downside, meaning that they go down even more. And the stronger ones, perhaps, they go down parity with Bitcoin in this case. Anyways, because we do have this set up, and also I should denote that we also have, I believe, 1, 2, 3 drives, just 2 drives of potential bullish divergence forming on the monthly here as well. And the monthly jewel is starting to get some upside curvature, and it actually is going to be considered a bit of a corrective signal here on the monthly, to be fair, but ultimately that is how, reversals typically do start. So with that in mind, let's go look at the weekly yet again. I'm going to put on my drawing tools right here. And we do have a bit of a technical formation. Yes, this is a descending triangle. Yes, those are typically resolved to the downside. And yes, indicators on an asset like this, might not be as direct as well. However, when I do backtest them, they do have a good enough degree of a hit rate to make me actually warrant them. In the past, I've actually said I don't think that they're going to be relevant, but I think the data quite clearly speaks for itself, and I'm wrong on that, as that was just intuition. And when I actually went ahead and backtested a lot of the signals, did work, in fact. So in this case, we do have a descending triangle. However, that will be negated with any sort of a closure basically above the last local high that we saw at about 46.5% or so. So that is going to offer up both a validation and invalidation condition for the next, what I'm going to consider a pretty major move. An invalidation condition would be the Bitcoin dominance coming back down below about 41% and settling below there on a higher term time frame like a weekly. Until then, I do think that momentum oscillators and volatility metrics do paint a picture of a likely reversal incoming, and just by the simple fact of it kind of being around its, all-time basing regions. it does kind of follow that it very likely gets at best, or sorry, at minimum, a nice little pity bounce right here. Anyways, you can see that I've also drawn a bearish Fibonacci retracement right here. And I'm still representing this as a bearish formation, obviously, because, well, we do have trend to the downside. But ultimately, because there is a descending triangle, that does imply that we can have an implied measured move based off of the resolution of this, both the upside and the downside. So let's say that invalidation is hit, and this one actually starts to move back down below about 40%. I suppose that at that point, we do look for a full-on move back down to the January 2018 lows. By the same token, to the upside, I take it from the last local high, and in this case, or a little bit higher than that in this case, so I do want to get the wick in this case, and we do see good confluence here with the 0.5 Fibonacci retracement, which is, a typical retracement region when you are within the throes of a macro move in this case. So overall, that would actually still be long-term bearish on this, to be quite fair, as we'd still have, a macro downtrend, obviously, on the monthly here, even by coming up to the mid 50s, maybe even upper 50s. But ultimately, I do think that is going to be a time to be rather cautious on altcoin Bitcoin pairings. Here's the thing, however, I do think that we're going to see a maturing market, or I do believe we're seeing a maturing market. And the charts to really be watching for are, the ones that trend up and to the right versus the Bitcoin pairing. So I'll actually just give a quick example on this. And these ones are going to be considered strong long-term. Now, long-term does not mean this week, next week. This means like over the next few months, really, or even more than that, over the next like six months or so. But if we go over here, and if I can even find it, that would be amazing. Or maybe I can't because I just goofed up on all of my list on the right-hand side, so I'll just do it the old-fashioned way. But basically, we need a more longer running chart than this as well. Let's go to Bitstamp. You can see on this Ethereum Bitcoin chart, no, you can't, because this one doesn't go long enough. Hold on. I know that we have one here. I'm sure of it. It's probably Finex. Yeah, indeed it is. You can see over a long enough period of time, the macro cycle lows are indeed higher lows. So I'm talking about this guy. Hey, where's my damn painter's brush? Bastard. Where is it? There it is. This guy right here. This guy right here. And, well, I don't think that we've seen the next real one, to be fair. Perhaps it is lower somewhere right around here. Who knows? Maybe it even continues on from where it's at right now. Definitely possible as well. But ultimately, when we see something like this, this is trending up and to the right over time against Bitcoin, which is a good sign on a very high term time frame. So we're talking about, we're encompassing like the last 7-8 years in this equation. To contrast that, I'd show you this chart over here with Litecoin Bitcoin. And this chart over here is a disgrace, is what it is. As you can see that it trends generally down and to the right versus Bitcoin. Of course, I'm sure that there's going to be a lot of people out there who say, Crown, you don't know the fundamentals of it, of which, yeah, I don't know the fundamentals of it, but I can, well, I will continue to not know the fundamentals of it, unfortunately. What I will say is that, yeah, there very likely will be pumps and dumps, but as you can see over the course of time, all pumps have been faded and they never create higher highs and always create lower lows over a long enough time period. So, could you see another pump phase up even to here? Yeah, I mean, that would just be another lower high in this series of lower highs right here, obviously. Definitely possible, although that would be the maximum amount of hopium that I would really be giving on an asset like this until Litecoin gets back above 0.18. Sorry, 0.018 or so. I would not deem it any sort of major macro reversal until then. Pressure remains to the downside long term, and very likely all rallies do get sold over a long enough time period. So that is kind of the new scenario that I'm mulling over here, as it appears to me that we're going to see the market really separate from itself, in the sense that we're going to see a lot of the stronger, more quality things continue to soak up market share versus Bitcoin. And Bitcoin obviously, very likely does its own thing as well, knock on wood, obviously, or I wouldn't say knock on wood, but assuming that the narrative continues. And then we're going to see the majority of coins, which quite literally do have charts like that, like we saw in Litecoin. So, don't necessarily need to pick on Litecoin, could pick on just about anything. 90 to 95% of things very likely do find their way in a race to the bottom over a long enough time period in the next, 6 months, years, all that and more. it does seem to me that we're at the precipice of, a very maturing market. And within the context of a very maturing market, we are going to see naturally those things fall off as the legitimate ones get, legitimized, as we see with Bitcoin getting listed on major traditional exchanges. I think Ethereum's on a few as well, and I'm sure that there are a few others coming too. So that is that, I suppose, is the video for today. I'll be back at my battle station tomorrow, or basically tonight, but I won't be operational until tomorrow because, covering from flying is an absolute bastard. But it's been a pleasure speaking with you. Just want to get this quick little video out right here. Do another Bitcoin analysis when it is relevant. And with that said, take care, and until next time.